I got to see Obsession an entire school year ago because I attended the Toronto International Film Festival where it premiered. I wasn't at the exact premiere, but I did probably attend like the third or fourth screening of this movie ever. And it was definitely one of those movies when you were at the festival that people just kept talking about. Everyone you would run into, they were like, yo, have you seen Obsession yet? It was easily the most talked about horror movie of that festival. And when I saw it, I definitely enjoyed it. And it was a movie that wasn't on a lot of people's radar, especially at that festival. I mean, we're talking September 2025, where Obsession was not becoming this viral thing like it is right now. Clearly, there were some people interested in this because Cooper Tomlinson and Curry Barker made That's a Bad Idea, their sketch comedy page together, and that has over like 1 million followers. So there was definitely an audience for it. But YouTube is such a big thing now that there's a lot of people out there that have over 1 million subscribers that I've never heard of. So I didn't really know much about Curry Barker prior to this. In terms of filmmaking experience, besides the sketches, he made a short film called The Chair, which I saw recently, and it is one of the more popular short films on YouTube. And then Curry made this film called Milk and Cereal, which was made for under $800. It's about an hour long. It's on YouTube. I watched the first 20 minutes and I was like, yeah, you know, this is pretty good. It's good for what it is, you know, and I was tempted to turn it off. And then something happens in the movie, and then I was just locked in for the rest of it. Like, clearly Curry has had a talent for horror storytelling for a while. And now we have Obsession, which was a movie that was made for about $750,000. And at the time of recording this video right now, where the movie's been out for about 3 or 4 weeks, it has made almost $225 million worldwide. For at least 3 weeks straight, this movie has tripled its production budget every single day it's been in theaters. To put that in perspective, The Mandalorian and Grogu, which was made for about $160 million, it's tracking to barely double that in its entire theatrical run. Obsession is doubling it every single day before like 7 p.m. It's one of those success stories that proves that Hollywood isn't dead. I've been beating this horse for years, where movies are so expensive, people want to make a $200 million movie that makes $2 billion, but a lot of them fail at doing that. And instead, we should be giving very small budgets to very talented, hungry filmmakers that are going to make something really cool that people want to watch. Because sure, Obsession didn't make $2 billion, but guess what? It made, what's that profit? Focus paid $15 million to get the rights to it, and it's made $224 million. You do the math. I think making $200 million plus on a movie is a pretty good investment. And I'll be the one to admit, I think the virality of this movie, the popularity of it has been completely insane. And I mean that in a positive way. Like, when I saw it in Toronto, I definitely thought it was a good movie. And there were a lot of people that definitely liked it even more than me, but I did not see it becoming this big. Because when I go to a lot of these film festivals, there are a lot of movies that are pretty good or really good that just end up not going anywhere. There's no marketing behind it. The idea, it just isn't marketable enough. But even some of those movies still feel like they have a marketable idea, and they just end up falling flat when they go to theaters. And this movie has done the complete opposite of that. It feels like almost every single one of my friends has asked me like, yo, have you seen Obsession? Is Obsession good? Where's your Obsession video? And I think part of it is that people just like being a part of a viral moment. You know, if you play a video game like Arc Raiders when that comes out and it's such a big deal, some people get into stuff like Love Island. Like, even me last year, I watched a couple episodes of that. My girlfriend had me hooked. I had to know what Huda was gonna do next. And Obsession has marked its territory in the world of movies. It has become that viral thing. And if you have that power to catch lightning in a bottle, you gotta cash the checks. You gotta cash in on it while you can. And this movie has already made the next 5 years of Curry Barker's filmmaking career a whole lot better. He already has like 3 movies in different levels of production. I mean, he got picked to do the next Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Like, this is a big deal. And even though I liked the movie the first time, I wanted to go out and watch it again to see if my thoughts had changed. And I gotta say, after watching it a second time, I liked it even a little bit more. I think this is a really good horror movie. And while this video is a review of Obsession, I do want to take the time to explain why I think this movie is so important. Because what I really don't want to happen is the studios are going to look at this and be like, okay, any influencer should get $10 million to make a movie. Like, we are one bad decision away from Megan 3 being directed by Bonnie Blue. And one of the main things that works in Obsession's favor is, and I mean this in a very complimentary way, is that it is not worried about being anything else but a really good horror movie. Because the premise is as simple as it gets. We have this 20-something-year-old kid that has a crush on his friend, and he gets this one wish Willow where he gets to make one wish wish, and the wish he makes is for her to fall in love with him, and then things go wrong. Like, it is as basic and simple as it gets. This is not Synecdoche, New York. And I think one of the reasons it connects with so many people, and why especially so many Gen Z people are going to see this movie, is because it's just so relatable. It is a borderline rom-com idea that they turned into a horror movie, and it really works. And I think the reason it really works is because almost everything here is executed on a very well done level. I know this is Barker's first like real film, you know, $750,000 is a big jump from $800. So the level up in production quality is expected, but I still think in terms of the scares, he really ups his game here. And people have asked me, like, is Obsession a scary movie? And personally for me, I don't really think so. I think it's not, tame is not the right word, but I think it's like a handleable. Is that a word? I think a lot of people will be able to handle the things that happen in Obsession and have a good time. But throughout most of the runtime, you definitely do feel pretty uncomfortable. And I like horror movies like that. And Barker is really good at doing this thing where there's a setup of a scene, especially in a car, if you know what I'm talking about, where just the way things are shot, you know something is going to happen. You could guess where the thing is going to happen from. It's something you've seen in a horror movie like 1,000 times. And that thing will happen, but Barker adds one more level to the scare. And it's like, oh shit, I didn't see that exact thing happening. And if this was like a bigger budget, say this was between the $5, $10, $15 million range for a horror movie, I feel like a lot of studios would push to add some sort of CGI demon or monster into a movie like this. And I don't think Barker had an intention of doing that, but if he did, the movie works better with not having that kind of stuff. Because when you don't have the money to pull off those kinds of things, you are forced to be a lot more creative. You know, something like eating a sandwich has become one of the most memorable movie moments of the entire year for me. Because the second that happens in Obsession, I was completely hooked. It was one of those moments where I was like, okay, this isn't just a good movie. There are creative minds behind this. And there are multiple moments like that. To me, the best moment in the movie is the phone call scene. And I don't want to say what it is because I still want to avoid some spoilers, because I know there's a lot of people that are still on the fence of if they could handle a movie like Obsession. I think you can. I don't know you personally, but go out and support a good indie horror movie. So I'm not going to say what the phone call is about, but the fact that it's hilarious and terrifying and gives you the perfect amount of lore all within probably like a 3-minute sequence is pretty great. This is something it does better than a lot of horror movies of the past decade. And that is, there is pretty much no explanation of any sort of lore, and I love that, because I feel like a lot of recent movies, there'll be a point in the horror film where it's like the beginning of the final act where you have like 33 minutes left of the runtime, and our main character that's been dealing with this situation goes to an expert that has been studying this anomaly for 15 years, and they find this person and they're like, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, what am I doing wrong? What is the One Wish Willow? And then Dr. Rhonda Patrick is like, the One Wish Willow was an ancient Mayan birthday ritual. And then there's like 4 minutes of montage explaining where this demon came from and how we defeat it. Obsession doesn't do any of that. And when you skip all that stuff, I think it makes for a better movie. Because like I said, there's scenes where you know there is something going on, but people watching this movie are not 3 years old. We don't need to be explained that there is a demon. We know there is a problem here. And this is a movie that rides or dies on 2 lead performances. And it has been talked about by every single person that has talked about this movie, but Indy Navarrette completely crushes this role. If she is not in this movie, it is not as good. I'm sure there are other women out there that could play this part. I think we all know at least 4 women in our lives that would nail this role, but she is so good, man. Like, especially before all these memes started coming out, when I was in like that Toronto screening and no one had really seen the movie, like there is a clear switch, which has become a meme now, when they're on the dinner date and she just gets up and does that whole thing. It is a brilliant piece of acting, and she just carries that throughout the entire movie. You know, she seems like a really cool person. She seems like a great actress. I can't wait to see where her career goes from here. Clearly she's going to be doing a lot bigger things from here on out. But that being said, I think Michael Johnston, who plays Bear, also deserves a lot of credit. I think he is really good in this role. It's definitely not as flashy as Indy's part, and I get why everyone is praising her, and she deserves all that praise. She's definitely one of the highlights, if not the highlight of the movie. But I also think Michael is really good here. He's really good at playing like that shy guy that still hasn't really come to terms with himself and hasn't broken out of his shell. Especially on the rewatch in the beginning of the movie, I think he just sells that part of it. And then he has other parts later on in the movie where he's freaking out. I just think he also does a fantastic job. If they recasted both of these people, again, like there could be another combo that works, but I really feel like they struck gold here. Cooper Tomlinson is Curry's partner when it comes to That's a Bad Idea. And I also think he's very good in this movie. It's gotta be a really cool moment where you and your friend have been making sketches for years and you're finally seeing yourself on a big screen like this. It's not one of those times where it's like, oh man, like these two leads are great, but this Cooper guy's kind of dragging him down. No, he fits right in with this group. He feels like he's a natural person in that environment. And he has some of the best jokes in the movie. He kind of like alleviates a lot of that tension in a really good way. I know Curry's not a star in his own movie here, but his one scene is pretty great. I love his voice work. I think he should keep on working on that. But I think when it comes to Obsession, this is something I'm passionate about that I've been talking about for years. There are two big lessons to take from this. If you want to make movies, you got to make them for a low budget. And not only do they have to be cheap to make, but they also have to be something exciting and deliver on that excitement. Because I know making indie movies is a struggle. A lot of my favorite movies are indie movies, but let's be honest, there's a lot of them that are also kind of boring. There's a lot of people that would get a $750,000 budget and not be able to do what Barker does with this movie. And yeah, not every $750,000 movie is going to go viral. You know, like this is definitely a success story. This is an anomaly, but I still stand by that you should be able to make a $750,000 movie. And why can't you make 10 million, 5 million? That's a pretty good profit. Maybe you strike gold. Maybe you get 25 million. That's awesome. Not everything is doom and gloom in Hollywood. There's just a lot of people making some really stupid decisions. I have not seen Masters of the Universe yet, but I am somebody that didn't grow up on it. There are a lot of people in my age group that don't really know about He-Man like that. And they spent so much money on that movie and it bombed at the box office. Make something interesting. Make something that people want to go out to the theater to see. And the second lesson, which is something I have to take into account for myself, I have been saying it and I haven't been doing. I gotta stop talking so much. I gotta start making things, because just making things and posting them online is such a game changer. If you've been following me for a little bit, and I know I'm still very, very early in my YouTube career, the reason I'm making this YouTube channel is because I want to make movies one day. That's why movies like Obsession and Backrooms get me really excited, because I've been saying for years that if people like Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Christopher Nolan, you know, if all these people had the technology that we do right now, they would be making stuff all the time. They would be posting it online all the time. And I love talking about movies, and I think doing that helps me meet a lot of you guys that have similar tastes, and I want to build an audience around that, because that's one of my favorite things, is talking about movies. But I want to make movies, and I make a lot of videos in terms of social media stuff. That's how I make my money for a living, but it's a lot of making videos for other people, and I want to make stuff for myself. You know, like I've made so many cool things before, and I want to just keep getting better at my craft, because I know I've barely even made anything that I consider great, and seeing stuff like this is just really inspiring, because it just proves my hypothesis that if you just make cool shit, you post it and people like it, you get attention, and then that attention gets you inspired to make more things that are even better and gets you even more attention. And it's not even about becoming famous. Like I don't think you should go into this kind of stuff wanting fame. If you want it, great. But I think there's a lot of people kind of getting angry at YouTubers like this, because they're like, oh, I've been making movies for 10 years and I've never gotten this kind of opportunity. Well, it's like, A, maybe your movies suck and you just don't want to, you can't see it because a lot of people lack self-awareness, but you got to be able to market your stuff too. And I think that's super important. I think a lot of people don't want to talk about that. I think that's why a lot of movies that aren't Obsession fail, is because A, they get bought by these studios that put no effort into the marketing whatsoever, and the movie just is dead on arrival. It never had a shot, and that's fucked up. But then the filmmakers themselves, like, they're artists and they should be artists. But I do think if you want your movie to be seen, you have to learn the other side of it. You have to learn about algorithms. You have to learn how to get people's attention and just profit off that attention. And if you don't want to learn that stuff, that is totally okay. Just don't complain when people like Curry Barker actually take off and know what they're doing. I don't know any of these guys. They could be assholes. They don't seem like it to me. But it's one of those things where you see the story and you just feel like super proud of them, almost like you know them. And I love success stories like that. It is so sick to see something like this being pulled off. And if I could pull off something that's a fraction as good as Obsession and a fraction as successful as Obsession, especially for a first feature film, I'd be pretty damn happy, man. So So congrats to Curry and their entire team. To me, Obsession is a 7 out of 10 movie. I think it is really good. And again, for me, a 7 out of 10, I don't give them out often. You know, there's a lot of 6 out of 10s if you've been watching my channel. And 6 out of 10 is like, it's a good score. It's a solid movie. 7 is something that's really good. You know, this was probably a 6 the first time I watched it, and I upped it to a 7 on a rewatch. I think there's a lot of cool things that are done, especially in the shadows. I didn't even talk about that. The use of shadows in this movie and some makeup to kind of distort Nikki's face in some scenes is super well done. And it just goes to show you can make something that looks really expensive for a relatively cheap budget if you know what you're doing. And Curry and his team definitely know what they're doing. I can't wait to see what they do next. If you like my opinions on movies and you want to see me hopefully make a movie one day and support that movie, be sure to subscribe so I could notify you whenever that happens. In the meantime, I'm making videos on YouTube talking about movies of the entire year and just movies in general. I'm working on some pretty big ranking videos that I can't wait to share with you guys very soon over the summer, and I don't got anything else. So this is Chase. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks.